Hi, everyone. I want to share a story that has haunted me for years. I never thought I'd tell anyone, but after everything that happened, I just can't keep it inside anymore. This is the story of what I discovered in my neighbor's basement and why I'll never forget it. At first glance, my neighborhood looked perfect: quiet, suburban, full of families. Kids riding bikes, dogs barking, backyard barbecues every weekend. The kind of street where people wave as you drive by. But then, there was that house, the one right next to mine. That's where Richard lived. He moved in about 5 years ago, mid 40s, tall, pale, always in the same gray hoodie no matter the weather. He barely spoke, never came to community events, didn't smile, didn't wave. At first, I thought he was just private, maybe shy, maybe divorced. We all know people like that. But Richard wasn't just private. He was off. It started with the basement light. Every night, usually around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd see a faint yellow glow from the tiny window on the side of his house. Sometimes it flickered like machinery or an old lamp, and sometimes I'd hear it: thud, drag, clang, like heavy objects being moved, or chains. Then came the smell. On hot nights, when my windows were open, this awful stench drifted over. Chemicals mixed with something rotten, like meat left out for too long. One morning, I caught him outside, dragging a black trash bag to his car. It looked heavy. I tried to joke, "Late night projects, huh? Smells like you're working hard." He froze, his grip tightened. Then he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Mind your own business." And then he smiled. Not friendly, not awkward, but cold. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. Months went by. Packages vanished from porches. A kid's bike disappeared overnight. A neighbor's dog went missing. Meanwhile, Richard kept hauling boxes into his basement at 3 a.m. Sometimes I'd see him standing at the window staring, not at the street, not at the sky, but directly at my house. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up in a panic, check the window, and there it was, that faint glow from his basement. Even my wife told me I was paranoid. Maybe he's just messy. Maybe he hoards junk. Just let it go. But I couldn't. Then one night it got worse. I was taking out my trash around midnight. At the edge of the woods behind our street, I saw movement. Richard. He was dragging 2 large black bags, muttering under his breath. When he noticed me watching, he froze. Then he smirked. "Taking out the garbage," he said. And just like that, he disappeared into the trees. I swear my whole body was shaking. The next morning, I called the cops. They came, listened, and shrugged. "Do you have proof?" Of course I didn't. To them, I was just a nosy neighbor. That's when I decided if I wanted answers, I had to get them myself. I bought cameras, small, motion-activated hidden ones. One on my driveway, one by my back door, one aimed straight at his basement window. And then I waited. For weeks, nothing major, just Richard stumbling drunk across his lawn at 3 a.m. Richard dragging boxes inside. His girlfriend, I didn't even know he had one, laughing as she keyed my car. But then, the worst part. One night, Richard creeping toward my back door, testing the handle, whispering something I couldn't hear. The camera caught it all, and one clip had audio. At first, just faint banging, but then a scream, a muffled, blood-chilling scream. That was it. I couldn't stay quiet. I showed the footage to a couple of neighbors I trusted. At first, they laughed nervously, but when they heard the scream, their faces turned pale. Together, we called the cops again. This time, we didn't just complain. We handed them the recordings. 3 nights later, they raided his house. We all stood outside, watching red and blue lights flash against the trees. Officers went in. Minutes dragged like hours. And then, they came out. What they found inside was worse than I ever imagined. The basement was packed with stolen goods, electronics, bikes, tools, even unopened packages. An entire theft ring operating under our noses. But in the corner, hidden under a tarp, were cages, metal cages, and inside, dogs, shaking, malnourished, whimpering, some still wearing collars with their names. Richard had been stealing pets from surrounding towns, keeping them in horrific conditions, planning to sell them. When officers carried the dogs out, neighbors gasped. One woman screamed when she recognized her golden retriever, missing for 6 months. She dropped to her knees, sobbing as the dog licked her face when it was chaos. People crying, yelling, calling each other, and all I could hear was that faint scream playing over in my head. Richard was arrested a week later, hiding in a motel. Neighbors who once called me paranoid apologized. Families reunited with stolen pets. The local news called it a basement of horrors. The HOA president, the same guy who told me to stop causing drama, suddenly acted like he supported me all along. But I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel like a hero. Because every night since, when I close my eyes, I see Richard's face, that smile, and I hear those screams from the basement. People tell me I should feel good about exposing him, that I saved animals, that I gave the neighborhood peace. But the truth is, I don't feel peace. I feel haunted. Because if I hadn't set up those cameras, if I hadn't pushed, Richard might still be down there, smiling in the dark.